Welcome back to the show. Executives from the country's biggest supermarket chains have denied accusations of food profiteering. This is after claims that customers are paying over the odds for their groceries. Bosses are under increasing pressure to hand down the savings that they're seeing on wholesale items to their consumers. But today, they continue to defend the high prices.
In 1978, there were many, many more supermarkets. I remember because I'm that old. I was around at the time. There are very few supermarkets now, and you each talk about Aldi. Are you in fact a cartel?
The UK retail market is the most competitive market. I've worked in Central Europe, I've worked in Asia as some of my competitive set, and this is strange today alongside a table who I compete against on a day by day my teams compete against. We are trying to do our best customer offer to grow our market share.
Joining me in the studio now, talkTV's correspondent Oliver Whitfield-Mirchich. Good to have you here, Ollie. And live from Scotland, our favourite potato farmer, James Fairlie. Hello, James. Nice to see you on board. Let's talk to Ollie first, get an overview, James, and then we'll come to you for the actual nitty-gritty. And I can see the gritty right behind you, right there. Ollie, what's going on?
So the supermarkets are being asked whether they are profiteering from the cost of living crisis, because food inflation, whilst although it is coming down this month compared to last and by about a percentage point, food prices are still rising. The supermarkets, though, say, no, it's nothing to do with us. We're trying to price match to Aldi. We've put in money to try to bring down costs elsewhere. But really, food is still going up and up. Compared to May last year, cost of sugars up 50%, the cost of cheese almost 40%, milk and eggs up by almost a third. And so there's this huge investigation being carried out by the Competition and Markets Authority looking at supermarkets and how competitive they are, not only with food but also with fuel, because the supermarkets control about 44% of the supply of fuel that goes into our cars. So there's big magnifying glass being put on the supermarkets. They're saying it's not just us that are trying to make a profit, because at the end of the day, they are a business. Suppliers have also had to put up their prices. Logistics is starting to cost more as well. So it's a bit of a cumulative effect. But this is what they had to say right near the beginning of that committee hearing when they were asked one by one about the profits that they were making.
We have not made more profit year on year. We have actually made 7% less profit versus our last financial year.
In a similar way to what we've just discussed, so if you looked at the ASDA full year 2022, to account sales were flat on a year-on-year basis, but profit at the adjusted EBITDA perspective was down by 25%.
The first thing we would like to say is we're acutely aware of the impact of the cost of living crisis on our customers and also on our colleagues, and how difficult that they're all finding it right now.
We are acutely aware of the pressure that many millions of ordinary people have come under as a result of this cost of living crisis and food inflation.
So you can hear there the supermarkets say that they do understand that they aren't really making that much of a profit. But think your mind back to when it was the financial crisis. Bankers were all in the crossfire then, especially around how much money they were earning. The representative from Sainsbury's was asked why the boss of Sainsbury's makes £4.9 million a year. That equates to £2,000 an hour. They were asked, look, it's a cost of living crisis. Is it really right that supermarket bosses across the board are earning millions of pounds when people are struggling to eat and to heat their homes? There was no answer from those supermarket representatives today.
Right, let's talk to James Fairlie about this. James, you see the prices that supermarkets are charging for your potatoes. You know what you're charging them and how much it costs you to grow them and harvest them and everything else. What do you think is happening there?
Well, what's happened recently is that the first hike in cost of food inflation came around with the rises in all the costs that were associated with everybody in terms of power, electricity, and that stems all the way through to packaging and everything. But unfortunately, the raw produce didn't go up because we were locked into contracts. But because of our soaring costs, we've actually had to lumber that pain for the last sort of 12 months. Now, our new improved contracts that we are getting for supply to be able to afford us to grow the potatoes, which are behind us at the moment, that then gets added on to the cost of food. It's not just the raw ingredients itself, which obviously causes food prices. It's everything that's associated with, from getting it from this stage here in the field all the way to the supermarkets on the shelves.
So, if you'd been summoned to be grilled by MPs, James, what would you have told them?
It's a difficult one because I'm not in that position, but at the same time, I think, clarity is key in this job. I do think there is a bit of finger pointing when it suits. It's okay throwing mud, but you've got to be able to come up with a solution. Now, government can enforce policies. They can make companies behave in whatever such way they want to. I do feel as though it's a bit of a two-way street. We can't hide the figures that they're earning, but it doesn't take much for the balance to swing the other way, and it goes proportionally wrong. Then you're really in the balance of playing with food security in the UK, which is fundamental to our way of living.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining me on.